We're different from the world. And Jesus said this. He said, all men will know that you're my disciples. They'll all know that you're following me. You're my learners. You're my students. If you do what? If you have love. That's what Jesus said. That the world will know that we're his disciples if we have love. They're not going to know that by our power, not by our wisdom, not by our great faith, right? Not by our intelligence, not by our charisma, not by our sacrificial works, not by our great churches, not by anything, but by our love. That's what Jesus said. It's by our love. And by the way, that's again the first of the 9 gifts or fruit of the Spirit. And so Jesus said that loving one another is his new commandment. He was talking about people that grew not, take seconds in the buffet. No, thou shalt not kill, steal, lie, all those kinds of things. But there were actually hundreds of commandments that the Jews try to live by. And so when Jesus said, I have a new commandment, they're like, oh no, another one? He said, yeah, but this is better than all of them. In fact, if you'll do this one, it's like doing all of them put together. He said, I have a new commandment to love one another. In Galatians 5, Paul called it the perfect law, the royal law, that law of love. And so in Galatians chapter 5, we just read it, we learned that the love comes from the Spirit of God. Everybody say, love comes from the Spirit. See, love comes from the Spirit. It comes from the Spirit of God. And it's also one of the fruit of the Spirit. So first let's look at the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22, it says again, the fruit of the Spirit is love and joy and peace. Now, you may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I grew up in a big city. I was a city boy. I grew up in L.A. And unlike my wife, who grew up on the border of Mexico down in McAllen, I didn't ever know anything about trees and fruit trees and how they worked except for what I read in a book or saw on TV, right, or learned in school. But my wife grew up in McAllen, and so she could literally look out her front door, her back door, the right side or the left side, and see orange groves all around her. And then sometimes they had ruby red grapefruit. Anybody ever have Texas ruby red grapefruit? I always hated grapefruit until I tasted ruby reds, because they're kind of sour like grapefruit, but they're a little sweet too. So they're kind of cool. But I learned in a book, and Julie knew it by experience, that fruit takes time to grow. That fruit starts out as seeds. And you got to have all the right things in the right order and in the right proportion. And you got to have just enough heat and just enough cold and just enough soil and just enough pesticides and fertilizer and all this kind of stuff. And then if you wait and wait and wait out your window, and there's these big, beautiful, fat oranges almost falling off that tree. And that's how it is with the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, and peace, and more come from the Holy Spirit. As you and I are willing to be patient